Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are decoding a genuinely fascinating mathematical and theological framework known as the dual caustic universe. Specifically, we're focusing on the discriminator of the fields, D10 Mimicry, and the I9 orbital lock. Okay, let's dive into this. What if time, as we experience it, is just a localized illusion within a closed universe? In the framework we're examining today, linear time doesn't really exist. It's effectively canceled out. It doesn't move in a straight line from past to future. Rather, every single historical event exists as a fixed, ever-present coordinate.
Because of this, according to the framework, the Quran isn't treated as some ancient historical text. In fact, verses 16, 24, and 25 directly dismantle that misconception. Instead, it operates as an Eternal Memory Tesseract. Think of it as a real-time diagnostic engine. It is the sealed tongue of Muhammad, uttered first and preserved last. And there's a profound reminder for the reader here. That is Allah's sentence, and your Rasul talking right now. And it's your amanat, your trust, to hold. The beginning, the completion, and present action all coexist.
Section 1. The micro-conflict. Action versus law. The confrontation in 2258.
To really anchor these abstract concepts, let's look at a localized narrative conflict from the source material. It's a confrontation in verse 2258 that provides the definitive protocol for distinguishing the manifest field from the hidden integral. So, Ibrahim declares that his Lord gives life and causes death. But then, the tyrant king turns around and claims the exact same power. And the king, quote-unquote, proves it by simply pardoning one prisoner and executing another. But look at what's actually happening here. This is merely a localized, measurable action contained entirely within a finite volume.
This is pure D10 mimicry. Literally any tyrant with a sword and a modicum of authority can replicate this localized output. In the dual caustic universe framework, this physical, manifest world of action is defined as the D10 field. The king's fatal error is that he mistakes his physical control over this local D10 output for actual divine sovereignty.
And this brilliantly illustrates the exact same structural error we see over in verse 2088. There, a character named the Samiri creates a golden calf, and it actually produces a physical lowing sound. Because it makes a measurable sound, the ignorant fall for it. They mistake this localized D10 output for divinity. They completely fail to see that D10 supremacy can absolutely be mimicked, simply because it operates strictly within the basic mechanics of the manifest world. But mimicry ultimately does not equal sovereignty.
Section 2. The macro law. The orbital lock. Escalating to the I9 coordinate.
So notice how Ibrahim counters this. He completely refuses to argue at the D10 level. He doesn't try to resurrect the dead prisoner to match the king's little magic trick. Instead, he escalates the coordinate straight to the I9 field. He challenges the king to bring the sun from the west. Now we're talking about the orbital physics of the closed universe. The sun's path is the signature of the cursi, mentioned in 2255. It's an inviolable macroscopic container that no created being can possibly alter.
The absolute definitive takeaway here is this. D10 action has strictly zero purchase on I9 law. A tyrant can chop off a head or build a noisy statue, sure, but localized mimicry is entirely bound by physical mechanics. It can never alter the overarching cosmic integral. The very second the test shifts from the local instant up to the orbital field, the false claim completely collapses against the boundary of the closed system. The king is utterly silenced.
Section 3. The physics of the fields. Decoding D10 and I9.
Now what's really interesting about this slide is how directly the properties of these two fields contrast mathematically. You have the D10 field, that's the manifest world. It's the local instant, it's deterministic, driven by action, contained in a finite volume, and observed from what the framework calls a Ramanujan vantage point. Contrast that with the I9 field. This is the hidden orbital field of pure knowledge. It's indeterministic, acting as the infinite container holding the D10 world within it, and is viewed from an Euler vantage point.
The framework neutrally maps these archetypes across the two distinct columns of the dual caustic universe. You can see how the cosmic seat splits into the Irash, the throne of action in D10, and the Kursi, the overarching container in I9. The representations align perfectly too. Ahmed as the localized pulse, and Isa as the hidden wave of knowledge. Which leads us right back to our narrative outputs, the mechanical false idols in D10 versus the undeniable orbital law of the sun in I9.
Now, while D10 can be successfully mimicked, it still requires a basic kinetic action to prove it even exists. In verse 2163, Ibrahim actually challenges the idols to speak. This executes the absolute minimum D10 threshold of observable output. And, of course, the hollow idols completely fail this kinetic test. They just sit there as inert mass. Conversely, in 2158, Ibrahim performs the true D10 action of truth by physically shattering those false centers. This perfectly separates the mu'min, the true believer, from the mushrik, the idolater, at the manifest level. The mu'min acts in truth, while the localized false god cannot act at all.
But even if a localized action is successful, there is a hard boundary. Verse 683 establishes the absolute numerical ceiling on D10's reach. It proves definitively that merely producing a sound or moving some mass around never raises a created being to the rank of the creator. The calf lows, the tyrant king executes, but neither of them governs the orbital field. D10's supremacy will always have a ceiling it simply cannot break through.
And this is where we have to visually subvert our entire view of time. Our instinct is to see 0, 100, or 309 years as a linear progression passing us by. But in this closed-loop framework, we have to look at it differently. You are not waiting for these years to pass. These wheels have already turned. Time is canceled. You aren't navigating history. You are navigating a closed system where the beginning and end are already fixed coordinates.
Section 4, the massless fulcrum of truth, where the reader stands.
So where do you, the reader, fit into all of this? Well, the reader faces a massive obstacle, defined in the text as tagut. Tagut is essentially the illusion of linear time, and the worship of localized, finite D10 outputs, like that golden calf or the tyrant king, as if they were ultimate reality. It's the extremely seductive trap of believing the manifest physical world is all there is, and it's the exact illusion you must overcome to grasp the deeper cosmic law.
Let's move to and see how this builds when we look at the human structure. The framework outlines 3 specific states: Nas, which is the manifest physical D10 body; Jinn, which is the hidden immaterial I9 wave; and right in the middle is Insan, the human, the T3 trial state. You are the massless fulcrum. You are the highly precise coordinate where physical manifestation and eternal memory become one single, readable state bridging the 2 fields.
Section 5. Activating the grip, shattering the illusion.
Now that we know where the reader stands, what is the exact mechanism required to resolve this tension? Distinguishing between a tyrant's mechanical trick and the actual command of Allah requires activating a concept called 10-100 Aql. And in this context, Aql is not just basic, everyday logic. It is a highly specific, licensed pattern recognition. It's the profound ability to see that D10 action must always, inevitably, submit to I9 meaning within a closed system. So, the crucial point, the overarching paradigm shift of this entire explainer is this. The universe is a closed system. The illusion of linear time has been canceled, and D10 action completely submits to I9 meaning. Recognizing this reality exposes the silence of false gods and reveals the mathematically sound, eternal sovereignty of the Rahman.
Which brings us to our final, provocative thought. If you want to wake up from the illusion of tagut, you must always use that 10-100 pattern recognition. The framework demands that the reader takes hold of this reality with absolute strength. So I leave you with this question to chew on. When will you activate the 1912 grip?